what's up YouTube? In today's episode of EV Logic, we're going to be talking about whether you should buy an electric vehicle in 2022. Now, we're only going to be focusing on brand new cars. I'll do another segment later on buying used electric vehicles much later down the line. So the purposes of this comparison video is just whether you should buy a brand new electric car. In the UK, 2021 saw a 76.3% increase in electric vehicles over the previous year. And actually, the Tesla Model 3 was the second best selling vehicle on the year overall. Now, considering that's a car with a list price of over £40,000, that's pretty incredible. Usually we're used to stuff like Ford Focus, a Volkswagen Golf, a Fiesta, that makes up that top 10. So the fact that a Tesla Model 3 is there is pretty remarkable. Now, petrol's still king in the UK, making up the majority of sales, but demand for electric vehicles in all forms made up a staggering 27.5%. Now, that does include, I'll caveat, plug-in hybrids and self-charging hybrids, but pure EVs made up 11.6% of all brand new vehicle sales in 2021. Now, for the purpose of this video, we're going to go over 3 pros and 3 cons as to whether you should buy a brand new electric vehicle or consider an EV in 2022. Pro number 1 is being an early adopter. Now, even though mainstream electric vehicles have been around for over a decade now, and actually if you consider the Tesla Roadster that goes back even before 2010, ICE vehicles or petrol and diesel vehicles still make up the majority of cars on the UK roads. So you, being an early adopter, get to have that rare green license plate whilst enjoying all of the new tech that modern electric cars bring. There is no road tax to pay, and business buyers can enjoy a 1% benefit in kind, rising to only 2% in April 2022. With it being new as well, the cars are much more likely to hold their value quite well, which is very important if you're considering buying on PCP finance, which is actually how the majority of buyers in the UK purchase their brand new cars. And I'll do a video later on in terms of how you should buy an electric vehicle, whether that's through cash, PCP, lease, or finance. The second pro is the savings in fuel you'll save over getting an equivalent petrol or diesel car. Now, even with me being conservative, I've done a comparison on nextgreencar.com, which is going to be somewhere over here. Assuming you get to charge your car at home at a given rate of 20 kilowatts per hour. Now, that's pretty much the industry average at the moment with energy, with the UK average of 10,000 miles a year and with a cost of £1.40 per litre for the cost of petrol. Now, that's actually less than what the average is at the moment, but let's just assume that there will be that figure moving forward. You can save a little over £112 a month on the cost of fuel. That is a staggering £1,350 a year. And that brings us to our third and final pro for this comparison, which is easy and simple maintenance. Electric cars are made up of much fewer moving parts than their ICE counterparts, which makes them a lot easier to maintain and less likely for things to go wrong. Reliable long-term use, which means a peace of mind, lower servicing costs alongside that free road tax, and that reduction in fuel savings that you will be making, which is pretty staggering and pretty considerate. Now, of course, me trying to be, with the name EV Logic, and try to be a little bit unbiased here, it's not all perfect, and here are 3 cons as to why you shouldn't buy an EV in 2022. Con number 1, cost of vehicle. Now, we all know, or at least most of us do, that batteries are still costly to produce, which makes electric cars very expensive when you're buying outright, especially if you're financing or buying in cash, or when we're talking about new cars as well. For example, a Tesla Model 3 starts at £43,000 in the UK, as an example. And that's the standard range without the FSD or the autopilot or any options or paint or custom alloy wheels. So that's pretty expensive when you compare that to the equivalent within the petrol or the diesel space. Number 2, range anxiety. Now, this is something a lot of EV drivers do feel. Now, even though the range available is improving year on year that anxiety can creep in when you're on 20% or below on your battery. And also the range you actually achieve depends a lot on your driving style, the weather, heaters, AC, etc. Well, all that's on. A lot of the advertised range that you actually see on websites or on marketing material is when cars are driven in prime conditions, let's say 20 degrees Celsius, the AC is off, the heating's off, and you're driving moderately. In real world examples, you're probably looking at about 20% or so less. But that technology and the range is improving month on month, year on year. And that leads us on to our third and final con, which is long-term battery health. Now, if you're buying a new car, this isn't going to matter to you so much, but if you're planning to keep this car for a period of 5 to 10 years, for example, like you might notice with your phone, your battery health can drain and deteriorate over time. So if you are planning on keeping your car long term, you may get considerably less range than when you first bought the car. However, as mentioned, the battery range is improving over time, and similarly with petrol or diesel vehicles, the miles per gallon that you achieve when it's new may not necessarily be the same, and it won't be as efficient when the car is 5 or 10 years old, for example. So, all things considered, should you buy an EV or an electric vehicle in 2022? Now, I think if you're on the market for a new car, you should definitely look at an EV. There are so many other pros which I haven't even mentioned in this video. For example, the regenerative braking, which we'll talk about later on, the speed from launch on most cars, and more importantly, they are fun to drive. Having said that, if you're not quite ready to go all EV, consider a self-charging or plug-in hybrid. Again, I'll be doing a video explaining the difference between the two very, very soon. But in my view, the pros far outweigh the cons of buying an electric car. The list price, I'll be honest, does scare a lot of people off, but what you need to factor or consider is the total cost of ownership. When you look at the savings in road tax, potentially in your insurance, in the cost of fuel, etc., that all adds up to actually give you a much more realistic monthly cost in comparison to the equivalent petrol or diesel vehicle. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed the content and you wish to see more of this. The next video will be around something called the salary sacrifice scheme, which is specific to the UK, but I'll be covering some real life examples of how much money you can actually save on the salary sacrifice versus buying an electric car outright. So as mentioned, please do like and subscribe, and I'll see you soon. Peace out.